Notice this rod just hangs here in my hand. If you guys look at that, it's just hanging here in my hand. By having it like this and just dragging it this way, I allow the rod to be very responsive. There's a reason you pay a lot of money for a fishing rod. As soon as you're death gripping it like this, now the rod is dead. Now you've dampened any action that the rod can possibly have. So if you can just let the rod hang in your hand and swing under the weight of the rod, more often than not, you're gonna feel a lot more, plus you won't fatigue yourself at all. And you know, if you're fishing for a long day, I mean, we're only out here for a few hours today, but if you've got a long day, the longer you clamp on that rod, the less fish you're gonna catch, the more snags you're gonna get, because you don't feel the difference between a fish and a snag and you know, things like that. When I have clients that are constantly hook setting into snags, I know they're holding onto the rod too much. All you do is tell them to loosen up your grip on the rod and you'll know that it's not a bite, it's a rock, you know? And you'll get that reinforcement. The other thing is take your other hand off your reel.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, and this thing, you probably observe it on guide trips as well, guys want to run the reel too much. And the more this reel's turning, the more it's putting energy into the line, which fish might feel in the case of braided line. The more you're not letting your bait stay natural to the bottom, the more tension you have on the line. Also, the more you're dampening the rod, plus the feel of the reel itself spinning will put vibration into the rod. So the less you hold on to the handle of the reel and let it just control slack, just spin the reel and let it control slack, that way you're gonna catch more fish from that too.
And whether you're finesse jigging or blade bait fishing or fishing more of a glide bait like a Johnny Darter, I do it on all of those things. Take that hand off, because people, they get used to wanting to trout fish and cast a spinner or a spoon and get their hand on there. That's not what we're doing on any of these techniques. And it's important to remember that.
As both of us being guides, the other thing to keep in mind too is we talked about people not detecting bites. A lot of guys won't keep their bait on the bottom. And oh, I am on the bottom. I'll grab the rod tip and lower it and like, whoa, that line sank a long ways for being still on the bottom, because they lose track of the bait as it gets closer to the boat and they pick it up and pick it up and pick it up, and it's because they're retrieving too much slack. So if you can't do this and let a little bit of line go back to the bottom, I don't ever want to see line just sitting on the surface of the water, but I don't ever want to see it real tight either on a finesse presentation, or your bait's just not behaving normally. But the other thing is if the jig goes weightless, if you're trying to pull the jig and all of a sudden there's no weight there anymore, like your jig's been cut off, just swing immediately, because that thing's made out of lead. It's gonna go back to the bottom and you're gonna feel the resistance. So if you pick up on this and there's no resistance, it's because a fish picked it up and he's taking the weight off the jig. And so that's a really important time to set the hook. That's the one I call them pressure bites. Those are the ones that that 99% of customers miss on guide trips. When I see their guy pick up and the rod tip stays the same thing and doesn't flex at all, and I'm like, go, 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 go. You know, you want them to set the hook, and guys just don't realize it. They're trying to find the jig. They keep reeling trying to find the jig. Well, instead, just swing on them, because you'll find your jig planted in the roof of the mouth of whatever it was that picked it up.
Absolutely. That's all species.
There's one.
Too.
Nope, that was not. That was not. Free hooks, free hook sets. Yeah, any species, exactly. I mean, lake trout. I caught one of my biggest lake trout ever because I picked up a 1 ounce jig and there was nothing there, no resistance. Well, just swing right away. Don't wait for a next sign of a bite. That is your sign of a bite.